Thank you for watching another live edition of the East West Football Podcast. I am Fidel Barraza. So with me, like always, Jerry Martinez, Kendall Whitley. What's going on, guys?
I'm not much, man. Another good week of football. I know it's been a couple weeks or whatnot, but we've been grinding, putting in the work behind the scenes, and we ready to bring some more content. I'm looking forward to week 5 now.
That's crazy, right? I mean, like that. Boom, we're already about to be 5 games into the season, and by the time you know it, we're gonna be saying, man, what happened to the season? But man, thank God football's back, right? I mean, for all jokes aside, I think if anything, now we're starting to learn the identity of who's leading the pack. Obviously, there's a strong contender in the NFC and the AFC still. And it's still cat and they're fighting, cat and dogs, trying to get up there into the playoffs, right? So well, I'm expecting a little bit more of that as the next couple of weeks unfold.
Yeah, and Week 4 wrapped up last night. There was a matchup between the Niners and the Rams, and Niners completely dominated the Los Angeles Rams 24-9. What stood out to you guys besides the defense? I mean, the Niners defense was just pretty much on fire all night. I believe they sacked Matthew Stafford 7 times.
What's that to me is I don't think it will. You just to pick up where you said beside the defense, but it's hard not to talk about because the Rams offensive line on the other side that was awful, and it's been bad all year. We've seen it week 1. And it's been bad all year. I mean, it really has. They was killing Matthew Stafford last night. But on the 49ers standpoint, Debo Samuel, he's a dog. Man, when he gets the ball in his hand, he's like a running back. Like he was a dog last night, and it was a sight to see. The 49ers defense, they're young, they're aggressive, they're physical. It's something about this, like the 49ers around. It seems like the 49ers always beat them, whether it's in San Fran or the Rams. Like, you know how you got those teams that some of them got your number, but the 49ers, I think they played on Monday Night Football last year too, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
And Stafford,
Yeah,
Stafford threw a pick 6 last year on Monday Night Football, I believe. But
yeah, Fred Warner.
yeah, it was a mess. He should have had one. Fred Warner should have had another one last night. But Stafford threw 2 picks, I believe. Might have been one. He should have had 2 or 3 more. A couple of them were dropped. But it was a great performance by the 49ers, and the Rams. Just he held that offense to 9 points. And one more thing before I send over to Jerry. What the hell is Allen Robinson? I mean, they paid him a lot of money, and he hasn't done much. It's Cooper Kupp or bust. I know they missing Van Jefferson and Odell is not there, but they pay Allen Robinson. They gave him a lot of money. He hasn't done nothing.
I mean, well said, right? But it just shows you. I like I said, I hate to be the statistic guys, right, or the statistic guy. Uh, that defense, the 49ers defense, D'Amico Ryan's going to be one of those guys that is sought out for, I think, in the offseason for a potential head coaching position. I think that he has the make and the understanding how to adjust on the fly, which is what a head coach needs to be able to do as far as getting his coordinators in check or his defense in check. So I think if anything, the 49ers are definitely the team that many NFL teams are trying to mimic, whether it be bringing in one of the coordinators as the new head coach. And it looks right. We've seen that lineage grow and grow and grow. The only thing is of course for the 49ers, aside from Debo, I mean, if Debo goes down, what's going to happen to the 49ers? I think that's a telling time, a telling, of course, we don't wish that kind of injury on anybody, but the 49ers are averaging 17.8 points a game. And right now, the Eagles, which Walter Stringer, he predicted the Eagles would enter the actual, they're actually the Super Bowl favorites for him. He said that week 1 when we got this thing going. And right now, the Eagles offensively are averaging about 28.8 points a game. And their defense is right there with the 49ers. The 49ers are only allowing 11.5, and the Eagles are allowing 17.8. So, you look at it, are the 49ers there? I think 49ers and Eagles definitely are the 2 teams in the NFC to watch out for as far as Super Bowl contentions.
Yeah, what stood out to me though, besides the defense, was Jimmy Garoppolo not turning the football over. If he's able to maintain this play, the Niners have a pretty good shot, possibly going all the way.
True. I mean, enough said.
Yeah.
And
So when he
he's in
needed to make
full
some
command.
passes,
He's in full command whenever they have that running game going, that sense of the play action, and that's what Jimmy G. You don't want Jimmy G throwing 30, 35, 40 times a game. That's not Jimmy G. But when they had that defense flowing, they're playing from ahead. He can set the run game, can set the play action. I want to see George Kittle get a little more involved. But other than that, I mean, if they're winning, I mean, who cares? I guess fantasy owners hate it.
yeah. So and now everyone in the NFC West is tied. Everyone's 2-2 essentially. So that was a good win for the Niners. Let's go and just talk about the rest of Week 4. What else? What else stood out to you guys?
I'm going. How about the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, we knew that they were going to come out fired up. After 2 years ago, they were absolutely embarrassed in that Super Bowl. So you knew Andy Reid was going to have those guys ready to go. Mahomes, everybody talked about they don't have Tyreek Hill, they don't have a deep threat, but now you got to cover more grass now. They got more playmakers that you have to. They got more players that you have to contain now. McCole Hardman, Juju, Scantling. I mean, Sky Moore. There was Sky Moore side. And what about their running back? Pacheco.
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 Pacheco. Sorry about that. But yeah, they got it. They got some guys there. It's a lot of people. That's not just Tyreek and Kelsey. I didn't even mention Kelsey because they got so many people. It's not just them two. You got to cover a lot of people now. I think the Chiefs stood out to me.
I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna be a homer, so don't worry about it. Right? I'm gonna actually say I'm very surprised with the Seahawks. Like that offense. Geno Smith. Damn. I guess I've been hearing some rumbling. I mean, is it Russell's inability to stick to the script? You know what I mean? Because Geno has been able to come in and take command and kind of pick up where they left off. I mean, everything's starting to for the Seahawks. It looks like their turnaround is not going to be that long. You know, we thought it was going to be a complete disastrous kind of season for them, but I mean, dang. And to add to that is wow, this Detroit Lions team, they are number one in offense in the entire league. But what is it? I mean, do they have some kind of juju or some kind of black magic that does not allow them to win these games?
They can't play defense.
And yeah, that's what I was about to say. They've been in every game. I don't think they've been blown. They've been in like every game.
That's what I'm saying. So and you know, and that's because they were missing like two of their contributors are one the emerging superstar Armand. Huh?
Essentially 3.
Yeah.
You think DJ Chark, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. But they should be getting Swift. I believe week 6. I saw the timetable. Armand, I think he should be coming in. And from what I've been seeing and trying to keep up with, Jameson Williams, man, he was a dangerous weapon last year at Alabama. I mean, it's only a matter of time before the actual culture starts changing with the Detroit Lions. Because I'll tell you this, their offense is really clicking. I think the defense, they need the defense. It's hard, right? Because they've invested so much into that defensive line. These last 2 years, they've invested two second round picks, I believe, on the defensive line, and then last year alone, Aiden Hutchinson was the second pick overall. So it's kind of hard because it's still relatively a very young defensive line. So I wouldn't.
Jeff Okudah has been balling too.
So we got James Davis chiming in. Lions have turned into the Texas A&M version of the NFL.
Oh dang, that's low boys. I think. Right?
I appreciate you tuning in, James.
Yeah, I mean, because Texas A&M, I guess he's referring to the Aggies, how they've been able to man, the star power that Jimbo has been able to do to bring in all that talent, but I mean their talent doesn't really match the win ratio, right? But getting back on subject, still it's very unique to see the Lions being able to stack up these numbers in the NFL. But when it all comes down to the nitty-gritty, or to the gritty, right? The actual dance, Kendall, I know you've done it before. They're not winning the games, man.
What stood out to me is that the Eagles are pretty good. They're a pretty good football team. I believe at one point during the game, they were trailing Jacksonville 14-0. The Eagles have not trailed in the second half at all this year. So that tells me that this offense.
I watched that game.
They was defense. They're a well-coached football team, and man, I mean, they're 4-0. The only undefeated team left in the NFL.
Yeah,
I
they were
think
down
last
14
year,
zip. But hats off to the Jaguars though for that. I mean, nobody thought. I mean, who thought the Jaguars would be what 2-2 right now? So hats off to Jacksonville for getting up 14 zip. But as we've seen with young teams, you know, they just can't stay up and whatnot. But that was a pretty good game. Jalen Hurts threw a couple of picks and whatnot. They got out there, Trevor Lawrence and whatnot too. But I mean, that Eagles defense is for real.
yeah. And it's kind
That's
of,
not a bad loss for Jacksonville either.
Yeah.
I will say this, and everybody wants to talk about the defense, right? But just a big surprise out of the Eagles is Nakobe Dean. We thought that Nakobe Dean was going to have the biggest impact from everybody that was drafted from the Eagles this year, and Nakobe Dean did not play a snap on defense. I think this is already 2 weeks in a row. So that's kind of a little bit of alarming, you know what I mean? But can you imagine if they could find a way to use his talent on top of what they already have there with the Eagles? I mean, that I think would put them over the edge when they have that signal caller in the defense and able to take control and change a game for you.
We got James chiming back in. The fact that Chargers have gave up the third most points scored on defense is just crazy after all that money spent in the offseason.
Ooh.
They are missing Bosa, so I mean that's definitely gonna not help out anything either. So, but yeah, they were able to escape Houston with the win. One of the biggest storylines coming out of Week 4 though is Kenny Pickett. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. Mike Tomlin made a comment earlier today that basically the offense just need like kind of a spark, and they're not just they're not putting up enough points on the scoreboard, so that's why they made the move.
Yeah, he came in last week and whatnot. I kind of wish they'd made the switch a little earlier, but we know what Trubisky is. He's been bad just about all season and whatnot. I won't say bad, but he just hasn't. He's just not it. You know what I mean? He's too conservative. Whatnot. At least Kenny Pickett come in, throw the ball down the field a little bit. He's going to be a little bit aggressive. He was aggressive the other day, threw 3 picks, but 2 of them weren't really on him. But I just think the fact that if you're throwing the ball, throwing picks and whatnot down the field, that lets you know you've been aggressive. And I'm pretty sure, he's going to take his bumps and bruises earlier. And then, now you can't go back to Trubisky, obviously. I think Pickett will be a star for the rest of the year. And let's just, what are they, 1-3? They 1-3. They got a tough schedule coming. I believe they got Buffalo this Sunday. But, I think it's just time. It's time or whatever. And with those weapons, he should be able to do something there. With those weapons on that offense.
I want to add, I think you're absolutely right, Kendall. I think if anything, he's going to get that running game going. He's going to allow Najee Harris to now be able to get the running game going. And then from there, Pat Freiermuth is going to get fed the ball. George Pickens is going to get fed the ball. Deontay Johnson, I think he's kind of even though he got paid a lot of money, I think Deontay Johnson is going to have to show that hey, man, he can go up there and get that ball and make some plays, because I'll tell you this, George Pickens is just itching to get the ball. And, man, I'll tell you this, I think George Pickens is almost a replica clone of AJ Green, man, when in AJ Green's prime, of course. So it's gonna be a very interesting team, for lack of better terms. And I think that Kenny Pickett is the actual ignition that car needed to get going. So I think we're gonna start seeing a different Steelers team. It might take them about at least 2 weeks, I think, before we start seeing it on all cylinders.
I think this might have been a little bit sooner than what Mike Tomlin was hoping for Kenny Pickett to start playing, being QB1, I guess you can say. Definitely against the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be a tough matchup for Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, they were trailing Baltimore at after the first half, 20-3. Came back and won the game. Obviously, there was a controversial call, I guess you can say. John Harbaugh choosing to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. And obviously, Jordan Poyer intercepted the ball, and Buffalo ends up running out the clock and kicking a field goal to win the game.
I mean, not only that, but I believe what was it? They blew the timeout, right? Also, that could have saved them with the when he challenged the play too. So yeah, it's an interesting game. I think it just came down to a game of chess, right? At the very end, but that defense came on towards the back end of that game, so it's very interesting.
The Ravens didn't trust their defense. They didn't trust the defense.
You got to kick the field goal though. You got to take the points.
Yeah, you got to take your points and make Buffalo drive the field, but they didn't trust the defense, and we seen what happened.
Crazy, it's crazy, right? Because we're expecting these two teams to be right there in the AFC conference championship. So Both these teams, I don't think, they're going to spin out of a crazy control. I mean, perhaps the Bills will stack up and get, all the wins that they need, but I don't know about the Ravens losing or spinning out of control in that division. I still think they're a little bit better built in that division to make a stronger push into the playoffs.
Just the second straight Baltimore Ravens home game that they've blown a lead in the second half or whatnot. We've seen it with the Miami Dolphins, the AFC East team, and this past week against the Buffalo Bills.
And I believe that was 7 straight home games that they've lost, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's crazy. That's shocking.
It is. All right, James chiming back in. John Harbaugh needs to go to college at this point, running college formations, thinking they're going to work all game.
Well, I think they still have the same offensive coordinator, man. To be honest, Greg Roman.
Yeah.
And I think if he's not able to turn this thing around, you're absolutely right, James. And I think if they're not able to turn this thing around, his job, he's going to be, at the end of the year, I don't know if he'll last the end of the year, but for sure, I think that come next year they're gonna try to bring something in, because that offense has been almost overhauled completely to make sure that Lamar is able to excel. That defense also is kept up to date with playmakers. Although we did see Marcus Peters get into it with John Harbaugh, right? That was kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, I think essentially reports were that he was mad essentially because they didn't trust the defense. You kick the 3, and then you're playing at home. I mean, weather's not ideal, and you just play. You play your defense and kind of let whatever happens. But you got to take the points at that point. And look, John's been in the league for a long time, and I know he said that hey, we want to give him the ball back. We want to make sure that we scored at the end. We wanted 6, not 3. But hey, at that point, you got to take the 3 points, because this might be one of those losses towards the end of the year that you're kicking yourself for.
For sure, man.
And look, things don't get easy. I mean, they got the Cincinnati Bengals this week coming up on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a tough matchup.
An angry Bengals team, right?
And the Bengals I think they've won 2 straight, and they starting to look like the Bengals. I think that Super Bowl hangover is slowly starting to fade.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a part of the season where we start to see the teams that are actually going to be good. They kind of start separating themselves from the rest. Let's see. We got James chiming back in. I don't know why didn't just drag Devin Singletary in the end zone. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
All right. But let's look forward into week 5. Obviously, we got a matchup Thursday Night Football between the Indianapolis Colts, the struggling Indianapolis Colts, against the Denver Broncos, which, I mean, they don't look good on offense for whatever reason.
And we did see the report out of Peter King, right? That Irsay's not pleased at all.
No. Essentially, they got to turn it around this season, or they're probably both going to be gone.
Yeah, and when we say both, that's Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, right?
Right. And look, Jonathan Taylor, I don't think he's going to play in this game. He was in a boot today, I believe, and it's a fast turnaround. Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, whatever you want to be called, he's dealing with a broken nose. He's going to be out for the game. So I mean, look, everything's
kind of
stacked.
They're banged up. They're a banged up team.
But so are the Broncos. I mean, Randy Gregory is going to be out for a while. Javonte Williams is going to be out for the year. Torn ACL and MCL.
I hate that injury.
They did pick up Latavius Murray from the Saints practice squad, so we'll see how that happens. But look, we saw Melvin Gordon lose the football, and essentially that kind of turned the game and kind of sealed it for the Raiders. So he's struggling. So two teams that are struggling.
I just saw his comment. Since he's been fumbling since he's been in the league.
James needs to come and write for East-West football, man. I mean, what's going on, man?
Let's see. Colts hit the tank and get Bryce Young. It might solve their problem. I don't know. They haven't been able to select any quarterbacks. Pick the right one, I guess you can say. Well, Bryce just recycling the old ones.
The reason why he's saying Bryce Young is Bryce Young doesn't need an offensive line, and we're seeing right now, offensive line is not the same, man. That offensive line is struggling. I mean. Damn, man. I mean, at one point that was like the strongest part of the actual Colts, right? Which is their defense and the offensive line. That's why Jonathan Taylor was able to stack up some great things. And the Titans right now, the last 2 games have been turning up. And I mean, their offense has been working in their favor, and they've been able to seal the games.
How many years has Ballard and Frank Reich been there? I think is this like their fourth or fifth year?
It's got to be the fourth year, I want to say.
I think the fourth. Dang, it seems like the coach. They just like I said earlier, they just can't get it right. Whether it's the quarterback, the front office, like they just it's a mess there. Well, they're a good team. They got talent. I think they're a quarterback away. If they can start getting these used cars for 1 year and get them a quarterback from the draft, I think they'll be all right. I mean, he went from Rivers to Wentz. Now you got Matt Ryan.
But I think it's more than the quarterback, though. I mean, it's just sometimes when a team's struggling and things aren't going like the right way, sometimes you need to make a move, let someone fire the coach. I don't know, just something needs to change, right? And I feel like if they do lose Thursday, like it's a tough game. Playing in Denver is no joke. That defense is still good. If they lose this football game, obviously, look, I don't like to speculate on anybody's job, but they're in deep trouble.
It's gonna be interesting because they got the long week for the following week. So if something was to happen, maybe it happened over the weekend or whatnot. So they're in Denver. Yeah.
And here's the other thing too. I saw it was like, well, what if Frank Wright benches Matt Ryan and puts in Nick Foles? He's the backup quarterback. I mean, you've been losing the games anyways. I mean, and I think Matt Ryan has the most turnovers for a QB this season. I might be wrong, but I think that's what I saw.
Well, I think we were all expecting the Colts to be able to
be a little better.
Yeah, to do a lot better. But I mean, right now they're probably one of the biggest disappointments this season. And what did he say? What is James saying?
If I'm Jonathan Taylor, I asked to get traded to the Chiefs. And look, and I'm speaking of the Chiefs, if the Chiefs don't make a mistake, and I think it was Chris Jones that got a roughing the passer call, we're talking about this team being winless still.
Right. And then you tied with the Texans. They lost to the Jaguars. I mean, it's been a mess.
One of the teams that we thought were going to be one of the strongest teams in the AFC is one of the weakest ones.
Right.
The Bronx?
Yeah. No. The Colts. I mean, the Broncos too. I mean, look, Nathaniel Hackett, he's not a good coach, man.
I was going to say, I mean, let's just go ahead and be honest. The Broncos too, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, we're talking about this team being a 1-1 football team if it wasn't for Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of the end zone. Essentially, that's what happened, right? So it's two teams that are struggling. Two teams that have one is a new coach, one of them's been there for a while, but he can't get it right. I mean, what happens?
I feel it, man. I feel it for the Colts, man. I just think that ever since Andrew Luck walked away, that quarterback situation has been bad, man.
Going downhill.
It has been.
I mean, and that's because these are good quarterbacks that played in the league for a while, so they put in the work ethic. They have their. That's our boy Blake Gardner.
Overhyped.
Yeah, man, they are, man. I'm sorry. I think I'm kind of a little bit in there to overhype them.
No,
you know what?
You know what?
Not that bad. I don't think that.
No, I think eventually he's going to turn around, but I just don't like the coach. I just don't think he's a good fit.
Well, I don't know, man, because what did we say at the beginning of the show, man? I mean, listen to what he's saying. I said it at the beginning of the show. I said, I'm surprised with the Seahawks how Geno Smith looks like he can, put up some gaudy numbers. You know what I mean? Stack up, put up a good fight, offensively. So maybe it was Russell Westbrook because we're kind of seeing.
Like, I don't know, but I don't think you can say that either yet, right? Because essentially they play the Lions. The Lions got one of the worst defenses in the league. So that's why Geno looked that good. This week he plays against the Saints. That's going to be a tougher matchup for him. So we'll see how he does. But I think Russell, I think he's going to figure it out. I just don't like Nathaniel Hackett. I just do not think he's a good head coach. He brought in a senior advisor, essentially telling him what to do. So I believe whenever he was running the offense for the Green Bay Packers, it was kind of Aaron Rodgers running that show, not him. He was just the OC.
And that's because I believe you already have those in-house. And for you to do that in the middle of the week, yeah, that's kind of saying it speaks volumes, I think, what you're saying.
All right. So let's pick a winner of the Struggle Bowl. Who's going to win this football game?
I'm going with the home team. The Broncos are home. And the only reason I'm going with them because they're home. If the Colts are home, I'd be going with the Colts. But I'm going with the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stay with the Broncos too, and it's based off the defense. Defense has only been allowing 17. Let me see, just to fact check, 17 points. That's all they have allowed. 284 yards. They allow 170 passing yards and 114 rushing yards. So without Jonathan Taylor going, I don't think that could get going. Yeah. So give me the Broncos.
And then
Broncos lead.
we got James chiming back in. But just think about the backlash Broncos will get because they won't have a first pick for at least 4 years. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take the Broncos. I like the Broncos at home this Thursday. And look, by the time we talk next week, Frank Wright might be out of a job.
I think
Just the nature of the beast.
I think this season it's gonna be a different changing of seasons. You know, Matt Rule's also under
That guy's in trouble too.
Back then I said, well, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be patient with him because he had to rebuild the whole entire team. But no, man,
this is his what, third year, I believe.
It's his third year.
Look, and Baker does not look good out there, man. I don't know what it is. He just does not look good at all.
Well,
I think if Sam Darnold was healthy, I think they might make the switch.
Well, I'll say this for the coach to kind of like get into the media or allow the media to make a statement into the media saying receivers need to get open for Baker. Like, I mean, hey man, you're dividing your locker room by doing this kind of stuff. So yeah, me too, man. I had so much hope for Baker. I thought this was gonna be like a rebirth for him almost.
Matt Rule needs to be babysitting kids at this point.
He was a really good college coach. I'll say that much. I mean, he did some good things in Baylor and Temple, but dang, man, NFL's a different beast.
Well, he is a rich man, so I'm sure if he gets fired, he'll be all right. And look, Oklahoma. I mean, talking real quick about college football, that job might be open.
Yeah. So. Hey, I think that would be a good place for him to go and recharge his coaching career. But for the time being, I mean, there's so many storylines looking up ahead. But I think focusing on tomorrow, like we said, Broncos, Colts kind of lost right now.
On Thursday, that'd be a good game.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to go and do it for us today. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching and listening. And we'll see you guys Sunday for Sunday kickoff early in the morning. Till then, have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
So.